Each week, Stevens Creek Toyota brings us stories of athletes who've overcome adversity or helped others overcome adversity in their lives.
That's right. This week we meet two boys with diabetes. The two have very different paths, but their success in sports is something they have in common. The sports are different, but what these two athletes are going through is almost identical. These two athletes have never met. Both Willow Glen baseball player Antonio Silvas and Silver Creek swimmer Mark Brogan have type 1 diabetes. This type of diabetes is rare and mostly appears at a young age. The disease prevents the body from producing insulin needed to allow sugar to enter blood cells to produce energy.
It had a huge effect. I started maturing much faster than other kids had, and this lifelong disease that's with me really struck. Like, I had to think about keeping my blood sugar in check and making sure I had enough insulin or I wouldn't survive. I would die.
It was very difficult because we didn't know what it was. We were thinking this, we were thinking that. My grandma actually mentioned like 2 weeks before I actually went to the actual doctor for an actual checkup. And she said, it could be diabetes, I'm not sure, but we just have to just wait and see. So we were just having thoughts in our head, just confused.
The news was devastating for both young men. Their lives would change forever.
So the doctor told me that I had to check my blood sugar every day. I had to do daily insulin shots just to stay alive. And then, of course, so for most kids, it's gonna be scary, but when they hear shots, they're thinking like, oh God, I have to deal with this all the time. But for me, I've been dealing with this for almost 7 years now, so I get pretty much used to it.
Emotionally, I got really scared, and I wanted to really just step away from everything and look back on it and just say, why did this happen to me? Why is it happening to me? But now I'm accepting it as part of me and making sure that I keep my blood sugar in check.
So these two young men decided they would not let the diabetes affect how they live their lives. Both are crazy about sports and wanted to compete at a high level. That meant figuring out ways to control their blood sugar levels while participating in sports.
This is the insulin pump, and it helps me administer insulin. It's like an external pancreas. So what the insulin pump does is it has an algorithm for how much insulin it needs to give me based on my blood sugar and based on how much I eat in terms of carbs.
Antonio has chosen a different route. He's not comfortable with the pump, so he uses a different method.
I think it was 2 months ago, actually, I switched to a Dexcom D25, which monitors my blood sugars for me. It's not that perfect, though. It's off by like 10 points, and then it can wake me up during the middle of the night if I'm high or low, and it's not fun.
The Dexcom is attached externally and allows Antonio to play baseball without worrying too much about insulin. No method is perfect. The boys still have to keep a close eye on their levels and keep food nearby, but they both compete at a high level. Mark is captain of both the swim and water polo teams. Antonio is the starting right fielder for the varsity baseball team. Two athletes who have never met, but who have a lot in common.
So for those who are watching this right now, I just want to let you know that you guys are not alone. For the first 2 years of my new life, you could say, I was depressed and lonely because I felt like I was the only athlete that was diabetic. And then I looked up big league guys like Sam Fold, who were also diabetic, and then I just felt really comfortable, and I started looking up to those guys a lot.
Both Mark and Antonio hope to continue playing sports in college and beyond, and both wanted to make sure that young people with diabetes know that there's nothing that they can't do.
Amazing young people. That's what we do on this show. We show amazing young people. There's two right there.